articles. Benefits of fasting. Fast religious leaders have changed the time for breaking the fast. God's command. What are the limits of the day? From where to where does the day extend? The time to break the fast according to the command of God. Past leaders have invalidated the fast of the children of Adam through their own opinions. The criterion for verifying the truth of a hadith through the Holy Quran. The sayings of the Imams. Religion is that which is the command of God and the command of His Messenger. Final advice. Fasting is a reward from the Creator of the universe, but the ignorant have turned it into a punishment. First point, benefits of fasting. I began in the blessed name of the Creator of the universe, who has promised to guide humanity in every era. I want to clarify that I did not obtain this knowledge from any false religious leader. The Holy Prophet instructed us to believe in all the prophets and all the revealed books. By following the command of the Holy Prophet, the Creator of the universe granted me knowledge and understanding. What is Deen or Dharma? The Creator of the universe created this universe and declared human beings to be the best of all creatures within it. He gave them His law so that they may live within its limits and prevent corruption on the earth. In it, the Creator of the universe also explained the way to worship Him and the way to live life in this world. In Sanskrit, it is called Dharma, and in Arabic, it is called Deen. From Dharma to Deen, the Creator of the universe continued to give the same message: obey me and obey my guide. The children of Adam proclaimed that they are obedient to the Creator of the universe and to His guide, yet their obedience remained only in words. If they had truly obeyed the Creator of the universe, there would not have been so many religions on earth, nor countless sects within every religion. Instead, false leaders within every religion misled the children of Adam, encouraging them to follow their own assumptions rather than the guidance of the Creator of the universe. As a result, true peace could never be established on earth. The Hindus began idol worship, and the Muslims fell into sectarianism. Among the commandments sent by the Creator of the universe, only remnants remain, and from those remnants I speak about fasting. Right now I am talking about fasting because a brother named Mati commented on my vlog, asking me to guide him about the correct time to break the fast. Therefore, I am explaining the timing of fasting according to the command of God and the teachings of the Messenger. The Creator of the universe has ordained fasting in every religion. Fasting holds countless purposes. Number 1, the Creator made it a part of worship. Number 2, it helps one experience the hunger of others and fosters brotherhood. Number 3, fasting is very beneficial for human health. Fasting is indeed prescribed in every religion, but I explain it according to the guidance given by the Creator of the universe through the final prophet. Listen to the command of the Messenger. Silsila, Hadith number 117. Abdullah bin Amr narrated that the Holy Prophet said, "The most merciful shows mercy to those who are merciful. Show mercy to those on the earth, and the one above the heavens will show mercy to you." You have heard the command of the Messenger. Show mercy to those below you, and the one above will have mercy on you. Now I address the children of Adam. If the wealthy had shown mercy to those below, then according to the command of the Messenger, no one on earth would have to beg. No one would suffer or die without medicine. Wealth would not be used as a criterion for marrying into a poor family, and no one's hair would turn white, providing a dowry for a daughter. Most of the wealthy do listen to the words of God, but they do not act according to His commands. And if they do act, it is only like a pinch of salt in flour. Regarding such people, God has said in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 18, deaf, dumb, and blind, so they will not return. This command of God is for every person who remains occupied only in fulfilling their own desires. Therefore, the Creator of the universe said that they are deaf, dumb, and blind because they neither reflected upon the command of God nor feel compassion for others. Those who have never experienced hunger themselves, how can they understand the hunger of others? When these wealthy people fall ill, they make doctors serve them day and night. So how can they understand the illness of the poor? And those whose daughters' dowries are imported from abroad, how can they understand the suffering of a poor man's daughter? What I want to say is that the command of the messenger had no effect on them at all. They neither cared for the poor, nor for the illness of the poor, nor for the daughters of the poor. Their behavior is like that of animals, just as animals live only for themselves and their offspring. They too live only for themselves and their children. Yet they claim to believe in the Creator of the universe and His guide. If they had acted upon the commands of the Creator of the universe and His guide as instructed, no one on earth would be suffering today. Now listen to what guidance is and how much faith each person has in the Creator of the universe and His guide. Everyone should compare themselves honestly. Bukhari, Hadith number 13. Anas narrates that the Holy Prophet said, "None of you will be a true believer until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself." You have heard from the command of the messenger that a person's faith is complete when he wishes for others what he wishes for his own self. Now listen to another command of the messenger. In Musnad, Hadith number 9075, it is narrated from an Ansari man. He says, "I set out from my house intending to meet the Holy Prophet. When I reached the Prophet, I saw a man focused on him. I thought that this too must have some need. By Allah, the Prophet stood for so long that I began to feel compassion for him. Anyway, when that man left, I said, O Messenger of Allah, this man kept you standing for so long that I felt pity for you." The Prophet asked, "Did you see him?" I said, "Yes." He asked, "Do you know who he was?" I replied, "No." The Prophet said, "That was Jibreel. He advised me so much about neighbors that I began to think he was about to make them my ears." The Prophet further said, "If you had greeted him with salam, he would have returned your greeting." Although this command has come to us in the name of the Prophet, in reality the Creator of the universe sent this guidance through Jibreel. This is called revelation, and revelation is the word of God. Jibreel emphasized the rights of neighbors to the Prophet so strongly that the Prophet began to think that perhaps Allah might even make the neighbor a shareholder in the inheritance. Fasting is meant to awaken this very sense of compassion, but instead of awakening this feeling, people have only increased their greed and turned fasting into a mockery. Fasting is meant to be a symbol of simplicity, that is, adopting complete simplicity in food. But those who fast often have even more food prepared than on ordinary days, with many kinds of dishes, which shows that the greed for food only increases. This concerns the greed for food, but even more than that, this month, which is called the month of mercy, is turned by many traders into a month of profiteering. They hoard goods for 11 months and then raise the prices of everything during this month. As a result, the government is forced to open Ramadan markets. Even there, fraud often occurs. Although goods may be available at about 5% lower prices in these markets, but they are often defective. Thus, the very month that the Creator of the universe made a month of advice and guidance has instead become a hardship for the poor. And among the children of Adam, the sense of compassion never truly arose. Those wealthy or hoarders who do not even consider this wrongdoing to be wrong still call themselves people who fast. Now listen to what the command of God says about such people. Bukhari Hadith number 1903. It is narrated from Abu Huraira that the Holy Prophet said, "Whoever does not give up false speech and deceitful actions, Allah has no need for him to give up his food and drink." You have heard the command of the Messenger. Now listen to my reflection on them. Fasting belongs to the one who follows God's and the Messenger's command. If not their guidance, then he fasts only to die of hunger unmanned. This is a mockery of fasting by ordinary people. Second point, false religious leaders have changed the time for breaking the fast. Now listen about those who tell people when to start and break the fast, namely the false leaders who have divided the religion of the Creator of the universe into sects. They have rejected the command of God and the command of the Messenger, and have set the times for beginning and ending the fast according to their own judgment. They have controlled people's minds in such a way that even if they are shown the guidance for starting and breaking the fast from the Holy Quran and the Hadith of the Messenger, they reject the Quran and the Hadith and still begin and end their fast according to the time set by the false leaders. Thus, the very act of worship that was meant to make a person deserving of reward in the presence of the Creator of the universe is instead making them deserving of punishment, as you will hear next. Third point, God's command. What are the limits of the day? From where to where does the day extend? Now I will explain Fajr and Maghrib through the command of God, so that people may understand that Fajr is also a part of the day, and Maghrib is also a part of the day, and that the day is related to light, not to the rising and setting of the sun. Listen to this command of God. Surah Hud, verse number 114. And establish prayer at the two ends of the day, and at the approach of the night. Indeed, good deeds do away with misdeeds. That is a reminder for those who remember. See more translations. You have heard the command of the Creator of the universe. Establish prayer at the two ends of the day and during parts of the night. From this, it becomes clear that the night is separate from the two ends of the day. In this command, the two ends of the day refer to the Fajr and Maghrib prayers. Now listen about the first edge of the day. The whiteness and redness that appear between the end of the darkness of the night and the rising of the sun have been described by the Creator of the universe as the first edge of the day. This time is called Fajr in Arabic, and the Fajr prayer is offered at the first edge of the day. I would also like to mention that at this time, the sun has not yet risen, yet the Creator of the universe has declared it to be part of the day. Now listen about the second edge of the day, the whiteness and redness that appear between the setting of the sun and the spreading darkness of the night have been described by the Creator of the universe as the second edge of the day. This sunset is called Maghrib, and the Maghrib prayer is performed at the second edge of the day, according to Surah Hud, verse 114. These are the two edges of the day. To explain the two edges of the day more clearly, I will also describe the names of the middle parts of the day, so that it is easier for you to understand. When sunlight first falls on the earth, it is called Ishraq. About 1.5 to 2 hours after sunrise, the time is called Chasht. When the sun begins to tilt toward the west, the time of Zohar begins, and when the shadow of everything becomes twice as long as the object itself, the time of Asr begins. According to Surah Hud, verse 114, the Creator of the universe has designated the two edges of the day as Fajr and Maghrib. I have described 6 periods of the day. 4 occur during the sun's presence, Ishraq, Charged, Zohar and Asr, and to occur when the sun is not present, namely Fajr and Maghrib. The whiteness and redness that appear between the end of the darkness of the night and the rising of the sun cannot be considered part of the night. Similarly, the redness and whiteness that appear between the setting of the sun and the spreading darkness of the night cannot be considered night either. In Surah Hud, verse 114, the Creator of the universe has designated these as the two edges of the day. This command also mentions the night to distinguish between night and Maghrib. Maghrib is the time when a person can see objects without any additional light, whereas at night a person needs light to see anything. Thus, even by rational reasoning, it is established that light is part of the day, occurring before sunrise and after sunset. If a person eats before sunrise, at the time of Fajr, while claiming that they are observing a fast, no Muslim will accept their fast. Now those who break their fast at Maghrib, are they doing so during the day or during the night? Their situation is the same as that of a person who fasts before sunrise at Fajr. Whoever fasts at Fajr, meaning during the day, is disobeying the command of the Creator. Likewise, whoever breaks the fast at Maghrib, meaning during the day, is also disobeying the Creator. This is because the Creator in Surah Hud verse 114 has commanded to establish prayer at the two edges of the day, meaning both Fajr and Maghrib are edges of the day. They themselves act in the same way. When the Fajr Azan is given, they stop eating and drinking at the beginning of the day. Thus, they are obeying the Creator of the universe. But at the time of Maghrib, which is the other end of the day, they disobey. You have already heard from the command of God where the day begins and where it ends. Perhaps guidance may come to you, so that you turn disobedience to the Creator into obedience. Leave these mullahs and instead seek to please the Creator of the universe. This then is the determination of the day, according to Surah Hud, verse 114. Now you must have understood the explanation of both times of fasting. The time to start the fast is the darkness before Fajr, and the time to break the fast is the darkness after Maghrib, a darkness in which one is certain that night has begun. This is because the command of God is to complete the fast until the night. However, for centuries misguided people have been making others break their fast at Maghrib, calling it night. What is night and what is Maghrib? The Creator of the universe himself has explained this in Surah Hud, verse 114, stating that night is the time when there is darkness, while Maghrib has been mentioned as part of the day. Fourth, the time to break the fast according to the command of God. Now hear from the command of God the correct times to begin and break the fast. Surah Al-Baqarah verse 187. And eat and drink until the white thread of dawn becomes distinct to you from the black thread. Then complete the fast until night. The Creator of the universe has, as mentioned in Surah Hud, verse 114, commanded that prayers be established at both ends of the day. Similarly, for fasting, the Creator has also prescribed two ends. The verse clearly states that one should eat and drink until the darkness of the night appears, and when the whiteness of dawn becomes visible, one should stop eating and drinking. The time for breaking the iftar is set at night, that is, in the darkness. Thus, the pre-dawn meal is also taken during darkness, and the evening meal is also during darkness. You have already heard in Surah Hud, verse 114, that Fajr and Maghrib are parts of the day. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, the Creator of the universe says, complete the fast until the night. Now let us look in the Holy Quran to understand what is meant by night. For this we refer to Surah Al-Qadr, verses 3 to 5. The night of decree is better than 1,000 months. The angels and the Spirit descend therein by permission of their Lord for every matter. Peace it is until the emergence of dawn. You have heard from the command of God that Lail means night, and in practice people also stay awake in worship during the night of decree. But in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, it is stated, complete the fast until the night. So why do people break the fast during the day? According to the meaning of Lail, the command is to break the fast in the first part of the night, when darkness spreads. The one who created the universe has declared Maghrib to be part of the day and commanded that the fast be completed until the night. Therefore, false religious leaders, by having people break their fast at Maghrib, are stubbornly acting in disobedience to the Creator of the universe. Now listen to the command of the Holy Prophet from Brother Muhammad, in which the punishment for those who break their fast early is mentioned.
تو یہ تو بتایا جاتا ہے کہ جناب روزے میں ڈیلے کریں گے تو جناب گناہگار ہوں گے، یہود و نصارہ کا طریقہ ہے، گناہگار ہو جائیں گے، سنت سے ہٹ جائیں گے اور امت خیر سے محروم ہو جائے گی. لیکن اس تصویر کا ایک دوسرا رخ بھی ہے جو ان مولویوں نے چھپایا ہوا ہے، خصوصاً سنیوں نے. میں نے بتا دیا یہ ڈیلے 25 سے 30 منٹ کا ڈیلے ہے، 8 سے 10 منٹ کا ڈیلے کوئی ایشو نہیں ہے. اور اس کو سائملٹینیس کنٹراسٹ جو ہے حدیث، وہ جو یہ چھپاتے ہیں، یہ چوتھی حدیث سن لیں. یہ آج آپ لے جائیں تحفہ، اس کے بعد انشاءاللہ کوئی احتیاط والے معاملے میں مسئلہ نہیں کرے گا. یہ چوتھی حدیث بھی حق 4 یار 4 کتابوں میں، 3 مین سٹریم کی کتابیں. صحیح ابن حبان میں 7491 شعیب آرنوت نے صحیح کہا. صحیح ابن خزیمہ میں 1986 شیخ آزمی نے صحیح کہا. المستدرک للحاکم میں 1518 امام حاکم نے امام مسلم کی شرط پہ صحیح کہا. اور چوتھی کتاب صحیح الترغیب والترہیب میں شیخ البانی نے صحیح کہا 1005. اور یہ جو حدیث میں آپ بیان کر رہا ہوں جس کا حوالہ دیا، یہ بہت خطرناک الفاظ ہیں اس میں. آپ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کو ایک خواب دکھایا گیا. آپ کو اکثر خواب کے ذریعے وحی بھی ہوتی تھی، نبیوں کے خواب سچے ہوتے ہیں. آپ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم نے فرمایا میں نے خواب میں دیکھا کہ 2 فرشتے میرے ساتھ ہیں اور مجھے کسی ایسی جگہ پر لے گئے ہیں جہاں پر لوگوں کی چیخو پکار کی آواز آ رہی ہے. میں نے پوچھا یہ کون لوگ ہیں؟ تو بتایا گیا یہ دوزخیوں کو عذاب ہو رہا ہے. اللہم اجرنا من النار، اللہم اجرنا من النار، اللہم اجرنا من النار، آمین. پھر کہتے ہیں کہ میں تھوڑا آگے جب گیا تو ایک پہاڑی آئی، اس پہاڑی پر چلنا میرے لیے دشوار ہو گیا. تو 2 فرشتوں نے میری مدد کی تو میں اس پہاڑی کو کراس کرنے میں کامیاب ہو گیا. پھر میں نے وہاں پر کچھ لوگ دیکھے جو الٹے لٹکے ہوئے تھے اپنے پاؤں کے ساتھ، کونچوں کے ساتھ الٹے لٹکے ہوئے تھے اور ان کی باچھیں چری ہوئی تھیں اور اس میں سے مسلسل خون بہ رہا تھا. میں نے پوچھا کہ یہ کون لوگ ہیں؟ تو بتایا گیا یہ وہ لوگ ہیں جو وقت سے پہلے روزہ افطار کر لیا کرتے تھے. افطار میں اتنی جلدی کرتے تھے کہ ابھی ٹائم نہیں ہوا ہوتا تھا اور وہ افطاری کر لیتے تھے. اب یہ ہم پوچھتے ہیں یہ لوگ کون ہیں؟ اہل تشیع تو نہیں ہو سکتے، وہ تو ڈلے ہیں، ان کے پر تو آپ نے ڈلے والا چھاپ لگا دی. یہ جو جلدی افطار کر رہے ہیں شیعہ تو نہیں ہو سکتے. اہل سنت میں سے بھی حنفی نہیں ہو سکتے، ان کے تو 3 منٹ احتیاط کے ساتھ ہے. پیچھے کون بات جاتا ہے؟ ساڑھے سکے برا، ٹھیک ہے جی، جڑا سانو تو متریا سمجھتے ہیں، یعنی اہل حدیث. یعنی ہماری اب جہلم شہر میں آپ دیکھ لیں ٹائم ٹیبل غلط ہے. ابھی بھی میں نے دیکھا ادھر تو ایون حنفیوں کا بھی ٹائم ٹیبل غلط بنا ہوا ہے. میں نے ان کو بھی بتایا یار 5-6 منٹ پہلے آپ لوگ افطار کروا رہے ہیں. ٹائم ٹیبل حنفیوں کا 7:02 ہے، اہل حدیث کا 7:01 ہے اور افطار ہو رہی ہے 7:07 کے اوپر. ابھی کچھ جماعت و دعوہ والوں کا ٹائم ٹیبل جو ہے وہ چونکہ انہوں نے تھوڑا الیکٹرانکلی فالو کیا ہے، وہ اہل حدیث میں سے ان کا ٹائم ٹیبل ٹھیک ہے، یہ دارالاسلام والوں کا. تو باقی پرانے جو 1950-60 کے بابوں نے بنائے ہوئے ہیں وہ اکثر ٹائم ٹیبل غلط ہیں. اس وقت کے لوگوں کے روزے ہو گئے، ان کو نہیں بیچاروں کو پتا تھا. اس زمانے میں ان کو چاہیے تھا وہ احتیاط کرتے اور سیاہی چھانے کا انتظار کرتے 8-10 منٹ. اب تو مطلب ان کو اپنے ٹائم ٹیبل کو دیکھنا چاہیے. ہم یہ پوچھتے ہیں یہ کون لوگ ہیں جو روزہ جلدی افطار کرنے کی وجہ سے جن کو قیامت والے دن عذاب ہوگا؟ ایٹ لیسٹ اس عذاب کا شکار وہ لوگ نہیں ہوں گے جو روزہ کھولنے میں ڈیلے کرتے ہیں 5 منٹ یا 10 منٹ کا. 25-30 منٹ والا تو معاملہ علیحدہ ہے، اس میں بھی کہا ہے کہ سنت سے محرومی ہے، اس کی عذاب کی کوئی حدیث نہیں آئی ہے. اس کے اوپر عذاب کی حدیث آئی ہے کہ جو جلدی افطار کرتے ہیں ان کو الٹا لٹکا کے عذاب دیا گیا، ان کی بانچیں چری ہوئی ہیں. ہم یہ اب علماء سے ہی پوچھتے ہیں، علماء سے پوچھ کے چلتے ہیں. پھر ہم پوچھتے ہیں جن کو عذاب ہو رہا تھا یہ کون ہے؟ اتنی کیسے بھی ختم ہو گئے نے. یہ تسی ہو بھائی جنہوں نے پتا ہے کہ تھوڑے ٹائم ٹیبل غلط نے، اور انجینئر صاحب تو دستے بھی نے پھر بھی ٹائم ٹیبل ٹھیک نہیں کراتے. یہاں تو نہیں کروا رہے، ضد پہ اڑے ہوئے ہیں. میں نے اپنی ذاتی جیب سے لا کے ان کو ٹائم ٹیبل دیے ہیں کہ یار اس میں سے 3 منٹ مائنس کر کے آپ نقشہ ٹھیک کر لیں. آپ کا دارالاسلام اہل حدیث والوں کا ہی نقشہ ٹھیک ہے اسلام آباد کا، اسی سے 3 منٹ مائنس کر کے جیلم کا بنا لیں. ہٹ درمی پہ اڑے ہوئے. اور اس میں کوئی ایکسٹریم رویے نہیں ہونے چاہیے. اگر کوئی احتیاط کر لیتا ہے 5-7 منٹ کی، اس کے اوپر کوئی قدغن نہ لگائیں، کوئی فتوا نہ لگائیں. بار جلدی والوں کو جو ہے ہاتھوں ہاتھ لیں کہ ان کا روزہ ضائع ہو رہا ہے. اور ان کے اوپر عذاب والا معاملہ بھی میں نے 4 اہل سنت کی مین سٹریم کی کتابوں سے بتا دیا.
You have listened to Brother Muhammad Ali's clip. So far, I have presented 3 pieces of evidence regarding fasting. Number 1, Allah has declared Maghrib to be part of the day. Number 2, complete the fast until the night. Number 3, those who break their fast early will receive punishment. Now listen to another narration which proves that Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman used to break their fast at night in accordance with the command of God and the command of the Messenger. Al-Muwatta, Imam Malik, page 3-4, narration 580. It is narrated from Hamid bin Abdul Rahman that Hazrat Umar bin Khattab and Hazrat Usman bin Affan would pray Maghrib when they saw the night darkening, and after the prayer they would break their fast, and that was during Ramadan. See another reference. The command of God, the command of the Messenger, and the practice of Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman clarify that the fast should be broken at night. Fast religious leaders, by calling this matter cut off, are taking disbelief and ignorance to the extreme. Among these fast religious leaders, I am referring to Brother Muhammad Ali. Watch Brother Muhammad Ali's clip.
اچھا، کچھ ریسرچر نام نہاد یہ بھی کہتے ہیں جی دین تو ایک ہی ہے، اللہ تعالیٰ نے جو وقت رکھ دیا وہ سب کے لیے یکساں ہے. مثلا حضرت عیسیٰ علیہ السلام کے زمانے میں جو روزے رکھے جاتے تھے، آج ان کی قوم یا ان سے چاہنے یا محبت کا دعویٰ کرنے والے چاند دیکھ کے افطار کر رہے ہیں. اگر تو اصلاً تو ہمیں وہیں تک جانا چاہیے، تاخیر کرنی چاہیے، بجائے یہ کہ بالکل جب سورج اپنی کرنیں چھوڑ رہا ہو، رخصت کر رہا ہو، اس وقت الوداع نہ کہیں.
دیکھیں جی، قرآن میں بالکل واضح ہے کہ آپ نے روزے کو مکمل کرنا ہے رات ہونے تک. اب رات کی ڈیفینیشن جو ہے وہ یہی ہے کہ غروب آفتاب کے بعد رات ہو جاتی ہے. یہ جو شام کا لفظ بولا جاتا ہے نا، وہ غروب آفتاب سے لے کے عشاء کا وقت داخل ہونے تک کو شام نہیں کہا جاتا. شام جو ہے وہ غروب آفتاب سے پہلے ہے. عصر اور مغرب کا درمیانی جو فرق ہے نا، اسے شام کہا جاتا ہے. جو لوگ وہ اہل تشیع حضرات بھی پلی لیتے ہیں نا کہ جی لیل کا لفظ ہے، تو لیل رات ہے. رات کب شروع ہوتی ہے؟ جب غروب آفتاب ہوگا. ہاں، تو بس غروب آفتاب کے بعد رات شروع ہوگی. آپ غروب کو انشور کریں. یہ میں بھی اس حق میں ہوں کہ غروب کو انشور کرنا ضروری ہے. میں تو یہ نذرانوں کے ساتھ روزہ نہیں کھولتا.
اتفاق کرتے ہیں کہ پہلے مغرب کی نماز پڑھ لیں پھر افطار کریں؟
نہیں، پہلے آپ افطار کریں. ظاہر ہے اس مشقت میں اپنے آپ کو ڈھونڈ ڈالنا ہے. آپ پہلے افطار کریں، پھر تسلی سے آپ نماز پڑھیں.
کہتے ہیں کہ خود سنت کا طریقہ کار بھی یہ رہا اور شیخین کا طریقہ کار بھی یہ تھا.
وہ جو الموطا ممالک سے یہ روایت پیش کرتے ہیں وہ منقطع ہے.
اچھا،
ہاں جی. وہ جس راوی نے بیان کیا ہے، نہ حضرت ابو بکر کا زمانہ اس نے پایا نہ حضرت عمر کا، اور اس نے کہا جی شیخین جو ہے وہ نماز مغرب پڑھنے کے بعد افطار کرتے تھے، وہ الموطا ممالک کی روایت ہی منقطع ہے. بلکہ میں ایک دفعہ اپنے استاد کے پاس بیٹھا ہوا تھا، جو میری ایک ہی ریکارڈنگ ہے مولانا اسحاق صاحب رحمہ اللہ کے ساتھ، جو 40 کوسچنز ہیں جو 23 مارچ 2012 کو ریکارڈ ہوئے تھے. تو اس دوران انہوں نے ایک کتاب اٹھائی ہوئی ہے اور وہ اینک سے کر رہے ہیں، اور پھر وہ انہوں نے ساتھ ہی بولا کہ بھئی اینت شیخان دا زمانہ ہی نہیں پایا ہوا، ایک ہی میں کہندا ہوا ہے. وہ یہی مسئلہ اس وقت بیان کر رہے تھے اور یہ ویڈیو میں بھی آیا ہوا ہے. یعنی یہ جو میں کہہ رہا ہوں نا روایت منقطع ہے، تو یہ میرا صرف موقف نہیں ہے. جو علم حدیث میں ایکسپرٹیز رکھنے والے لوگ ہیں، مولانا اسحاق صاحب کے بارے میں تو کوئی نہیں کہہ سکتا نا کہ وہ کوئی سنی شیعہ کنفلکٹ سے آزاد نہیں ہوئے ہوئے تھے. یقیناً وہ آزاد تھے. وہ تو اتحاد امت میں اس دور میں اماموں میں. کیا بات ہے.
You have listened to Brother Muhammad Ali's clip, in which he calls the narration of Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman cut off, even though you had previously listened to Brother Muhammad Ali's clip, in which he stated that those who break their fast early should be punished. This is the hypocrisy in his statements. I will respond later to those who call this narration cut off. First, a question for Brother Muhammad Ali. Has Brother Muhammad Ali followed the word of God and the hadith of the Messenger or the teachings of his elders? Brother Muhammad Ali, you are calling the narration cut off. So is Surah Al-Baqarah verse 187 cut off? Is Surah Hud verse 114 cut off? Is the command of the Messenger cut off? Even if the narration did not exist, the command of God and the command of the Messenger are sufficient for us. I have highlighted Brother Muhammad Ali's mistake, as he is abandoning the command of God and the command of the Messenger and blindly following the teachings of his elders. On the day of judgment, when every person will not even be able to account for themselves, Brother Muhammad Ali, will you bear the punishment for leading countless Muslims into misguidance? But my statement is for all the nations of the world who read in Surah Al-Nisa, verse 59, O you who have believed, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. It is simply a mirror for them to reflect on whether they are obeying God and His Messenger or following their elders. As for those who blindly follow their elders, listen to the command of God and the command of the Messenger from Brother Muhammad Ali.
تو یہ انہوں نے دھوکہ بازی کے ذریعے ایسی ٹرم ڈیوائز کی شیطانی توحید نعوذ باللہ. تو آج شیطانی توحید کی ڈیفینیشن لے جائیں. شیطانی توحید وہ ہے جو بابوں نے سکھائی ہے اور رحمانی توحید وہ ہے جو پیغمبروں نے سکھائی ہے, اور پیغمبروں کی تعلیمات قرآن و سنت کی روشنی میں ہمارے پاس محفوظ ہے. یہ سمپل ڈیفینیشن ہے, اور یہ میں اپنی طرف سے نہیں کر رہا, قرآن کی درجنوں نہیں سینکڑوں آیات اس پر گواہ ہیں. میں صرف ایک سیمپل کے طور پہ سورہ التوبہ کی آیت نمبر ہے 31, اتخذوا احبارہم ورہبانہم اربابا من دون اللہ. یہود و نصارہ نے اپنے علماء کو اور اپنے بزرگوں کو, احبار کہتے ہیں علماء, رہبان وہ راہب جو ہوتے تھے صوفی جوگی, مولویوں اور صوفیوں کو جوگیوں کو اپنا رب مان لیا تھا اللہ کے مقابلے پر. یہ قرآن کی آیت بالکل واضح ہے. یہ اللہ تعالیٰ بتا رہا ہے کہ شیطانی توحید کیا تھی, کہ انہوں نے اپنے صوفیوں جوگیوں اور بابوں کو رب مان لیا تھا. اچھا, اس کی ایکسپلینیشن جامعہ ترمذی کے اندر موجود ہے, جو سلسلہ احادیث صحیحہ میں شیخ البانی بھی لے کے آئے ہیں. اور حیران کن بات ہے, شاہ ولی اللہ دہلوی نے حجت اللہ البالغہ میں تقلید جو اندھی کی جاتی ہے اس کے پرخچے اڑا دیے ہیں, اور وہاں تقلید کے رد پہ اسی آیت کو اور اس سے متعلقہ حدیث کو لے کر آئے ہیں, یہ بات بتانے کے لیے کہ آپ نے نبیوں کی تعلیمات کو فالو کرنا ہے, بابوں کی تعلیمات کو فالو نہیں کرنا. وہ حدیث کیا ہے ترمذی کی, عدی ابن حاتم جو مشہور سخی تھے, حاتم تائی ان کے بیٹے تھے, وہ مسلمان ہو گئے, ان کے گلے میں وہ سلیب بھی لٹکی ہوئی تھی, نبی علیہ السلام نے وہ بھی اتروائی. ان کا یا رسول اللہ قرآن میں ایک آیت ہے جو مجھے کھٹکتی ہے. پوچھا کون سی آیت, تو انہوں نے یہ آیت پڑھی, اتخذوا احبارہم ورہبانہم اربابا من دون اللہ. یہود و نصارہ نے اپنے بزرگوں کو اور اپنے مولویوں کو, علماء کو رب مان لیا تھا اللہ کے مقابلے پر. تو انہوں نے کہا ہم نے تو کبھی اپنے بزرگوں کی عبادت نہیں کی. یہ بھی ہمیں یہی کہتے ہیں نا, اسی جی اللہ کا بندہ ہی تھے, مننے ہیں انہوں. جی یہی گل اللہ نبی سامنے ہو چکی ہے. ہاں, اللہ کے نبی علیہ السلام نے فرمایا کہ مجھے یہ بتاؤ کہ کیا تم اپنے مولویوں اور صوفیوں, احبار اور رہبان کے کہنے پر کسی چیز کو حلال اور حرام تصور نہیں کر لیتے تھے؟ وہ تو ہم بھی کرتے ہیں, اس میں کیا حرج ہے؟ نہیں, یہ بات ہو رہی تھی کہ اللہ کی تعلیمات کے مقابلے پر ان کی حلال کردہ چیزوں کو حلال اور حرام کردہ چیزوں کو حرام. وہ آج بھی وہ کہتے ہیں پوپ کے پاس اختیار ہے, اس لیے پوپ نے جو ہے وہ عیسیٰ ابن مریم کا قتل بھی معاف کر دیا ہوا یہودیوں کو, جو ان کی نظر میں ہوا. ہمارے نزدیک تو وہ زندہ اٹھائے گئے الحمدللہ. تو عدی ابن حاتم نے کہا یا رسول اللہ ایسا ہی تھا، یعنی بغیر یہ دیکھے ہوئے کہ اللہ کی تعلیمات کیا ہیں، پیغمبروں کی تعلیمات کیا ہیں، وہ اپنے مولویوں اور بزرگوں کے کہنے پر حلال کو حلال اور حرام کو حرام مان لیتے تھے. تو جب انہوں نے کہا یا رسول اللہ ایسے ہی تھا، آپ نے فرمایا یہی تو ان کو رب بنانا ہے.
You have heard it, whether it is Brother Muhammad Ali or these past religious leaders. What they say and what they do are different. They have all abandoned God and the messenger of God and have made their elders a part of religion. Now I will speak about the narration of Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman, which these past religious leaders have called cut off. However, this narration is not cut off. Rather, it is authentic. These past leaders have labeled it cut off solely to hide their own misguidance. While Surah Hud, verse 114, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, and Mustadrik Hadith number 1568 bear witness to this narration. Now, decide for yourself whether these past religious leaders have followed the command of God and the command of the messenger, or blindly followed their elders. For those who claim to be Muslims, this is a matter of great concern. If past leaders have invalidated the fast of the children of Adam through their own opinions, now listen to the reality of the narration of Hamid bin Abdul Rahman. The narration which they called false is in fact true. In the narration, it is stated that Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Usman used to break their fast after offering the Maghrib prayer. Brother Muhammad Ali declared the narration disconnected because Hamid bin Abdul Rahman did not witness the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar. First argument. In the narration, the name of Hazrat Abu Bakr is not mentioned at all. Second argument. Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman was born 2 years before the death of Hazrat Umar, that is, in 22 AH. Thus he witnessed about 2 years of the caliphate of Hazrat Umar and about 12 years of the caliphate of Hazrat Usman. From this, his age becomes approximately 14 years. Listen to the hadith of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet commanded that children should be instructed to pray at the age of 10. Daud, Hadith number 495. Amr bin Shuaib narrates from his father and he from his grandfather that the Holy Prophet said, "Command your children to pray when they become 7 years old and beat them for it when they become 10 years old and arrange their beds separately." See further references. Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf passed away in 32 AH, at which time Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman was approximately 10 years old. From this, it is proven that he also received training from his father and prayed behind Hazrat Usman for about 7 years. So, calling this narration cut off is a grave falsehood. They even claim that the one who did not see Hazrat Abu Bakr has a different religion. The one who did not see Hazrat Umar has a different religion. The one who did not see Hazrat Usman has yet another religion. In reality, Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman met thousands of the companions of the Holy Prophet from the age of maturity until his death. Even if Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman did not witness the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr, his narration bears witness to the command of God and the command of the messenger. Likewise, the command of God and the command of the messenger testify to the truth of his narration. Yet you mentioned the name of Hazrat Abu Bakr and said that Hazrat Hamid bin Abdul Rahman did not witness his time. By rejecting this narration, you are in fact denying the creator of the universe and his guide. Consequently, you have begun to break the fast at Maghrib, whereas the creator of the universe has declared Maghrib to be a part of the day. Sixth one, the criterion for verifying the truth of a hadith through the Holy Quran. If only the narration of someone who met Hazrat Abu Bakr among the Shaykhain is to be accepted, and you reject any narration that is confirmed by the Quran and Hadith, then listen to the statements of your Imams to determine which hadith is true and which is false. Imam Shafi, Book Al-Risala, page 89. If two hadiths are found to contradict each other and it is not possible to declare one as abrogating and the other abrogated, not to reconcile the contradiction, then one hadith will be set aside and the other, more authentic hadith, will be accepted. In giving preference, the Quran, other hadiths, and sound reasoning will be used as the basis. Its details are as follows. First of all, both hadiths will be presented before the Quran, and whichever hadith is more in accordance with the book of God will be preferred and adopted. You have already heard the criterion for verifying the truth of a hadith. The hadith is authentic when its truth is confirmed by the Quran. So what value do narrations and opinions hold before the Quran? Only those narrations and opinions are valid which conform to the Quran and hadith. Apart from the Quran and hadith, whatever the Imams, namely Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Imam Hanbal speculated regarding their opinions, they said, I wish we had not given our opinion and would have preferred to receive lashes all our lives. They stated that the religion is solely and exclusively the command of the Messenger. Our opinions have no weight. Listen to the views of all the Imams. 7th point. The sayings of the Imams. Religion is that which is the command of God and the command of His Messenger. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Book Alamul Muwaqqi'in, an Rabbil Alamin, page 66. Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa stated that our knowledge is based on opinion and we consider that which we have found best according to our ability. However, if someone brings something better, we will accept it. Now, according to the statement of Imam Abu Hanifa, if he were present today, he would accept Surah Hud, verse 114, which declares Fajr and Maghrib as part of the day, and Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, which says to complete the fast until night. He would also accept the statement of the Messenger. I saw in a dream that those who break the fast early are being punished. He would have accepted it. If he had not, it would have cast doubt on his faith. Imam Malik said that we rely on conjecture and speculation, and in his final moments, he wept and said, I wish that for every matter in which I gave my opinion, I had been willing to receive lashes instead. Alas, despite having the liberty, why did I take the lead in this? Listen to this statement. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Book Alamul Muwaqqi'in, an Rabbil Alamin, page 66. Imam Malik would often say that we only make conjectures and assumptions, and we have no certainty about these matters. Ibn Kanbi narrates that during the illness which led to Imam Malik's death, I went to visit him. After greeting him, I sat down and saw that he was weeping. I said, O Abu Abdullah, why are you weeping? He replied, O Ibn Kanbi, how could I not weep? Who is more deserving of weeping than I? I wish that for every issue about which I gave my opinion, I had accepted being flogged instead. Alas, despite having ample scope, why did I hasten towards it? Why did I issue fatwas based on my own opinion? From this it is understood that in his final moments, Imam Malik did not regard his personal opinions as absolutely certain. His fear of Allah was such that he said he would have preferred to receive lashes rather than rely on his own judgment. Those who follow his opinions should reflect upon this themselves. Imam Malik also said, I am only a human being. Sometimes I say what is correct and sometimes what is incorrect. Therefore, examine my statements carefully. Whatever agrees with the book and the Sunnah take it, and whatever does not agree with the book and the Sunnah, leave it. Listen to this statement. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, book Alam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabbil Alamin, page 66. Hazrat Imam Malik was once asked about the issue of an irrevocable divorce. Ashraf bin Abdul Aziz picked up his writing tablet so that he could write down whatever answer the Imam would give. Imam Malik immediately said, "Do not do that, for it is possible that by the evening I may say that it is only one divorce." He used to say, "I am only a human being. Sometimes I say what is correct and sometimes what is incorrect. Therefore, examine my statements carefully. Whatever agrees with the book and the Sunnah, take it, and whatever does not agree with the book and the Sunnah, leave it." Now listen to another statement of Imam Malik. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, book Alam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabbil Alamin, page 67. Imam Ibn Jarir mentioned in his book Tahzib al-Asar that Imam Malik said, "Therefore, one should follow the sayings and practices of the Messenger and not follow personal opinions. Just consider, if today you accept the opinion of one person, tomorrow another person may present a stronger opinion, and you will accept that instead. Then there will be no end to it. Whose opinions will you keep following?" Thus, Imam Malik expressed his concern that everyone might begin presenting their own opinions in the religion of God and making people act upon them. Imam Shafi said that obedience belongs to Allah and His Messenger. He also said that no matter how great a person may be, no one's opinion will be accepted in opposition to the command of the Messenger. In these words, even the companions are included as well. See the extent of the misguidance of the false leaders. Did they not even follow the Quran and the command of the Messenger? If they had followed them, the situation of fasting would not be such that everyone breaks the fast according to their own wish. Listen to this statement. Imam Shafi, book Al-Risala, page 91. No matter how high a person's status is, his opinion should not be accepted against a hadith. If someone is acting contrary to a hadith and that hadith reaches him, it becomes obligatory for him to abandon his action and follow the hadith. Listen to what Imam Shafi said regarding personal opinion. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, book Alam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabbil Alamin, page 66. Imam Shafi said that a person who reflects upon his own opinion and then repents from it is like someone who had been insane, received treatment, became well, and afterwards thinks about what had previously happened to him. Now Imam Shafi is saying that the one who reflected upon his own opinion is like someone who became well after receiving treatment. From this it is proven that those who give opinions about the Creator and His word are like the insane. Then Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rejected all opinions and said that for us, the religion of Muhammad is only that which is in the Quran and Hadith. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, book Alam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabbil Alamin, page 68. Hazrat Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal says that whether it is the opinion of Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, or Imam Abu Hanifa, in my view all of these are equal in not being evidence or proof. True evidence and proof is only the hadith of the Messenger. Observe these statements of Imam Ahmad. He says that the religion of Muhammad is only that which is in the hadith and the Quran. Listen to the statement of Imam Masroor. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, book Alam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabbil Alamin, page 67. Imam Masroor said, "Whoever turns away from the command of God toward personal opinion becomes misguided." You have already heard the statements about the opinions of the Imams. Now these false leaders did not see Surah Hud, verse 114, where the Creator of the universe said that Maghrib is part of the day. Nor did they see Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, which says to complete the fast until the night. Nor did they see the statement of the Messenger in Mustadrik Hadith number 1568 that those who break the fast early will be punished. Nor did they see the narration in Muwatta, Imam Malik, narration number 580, that the companions used to break the fast at night. However, some people reject such narrations and declare them false. If you call this narration false, then call the command of God and the command of the Messenger false as well, so that a decision may be made between your faith and disbelief, and so that the new generation may not be misled by considering you Muslims. Rather, they may recognize your deception and fraud. Your elders have misled you for centuries, and you too are misleading others. Rather, your elders have fabricated so many baseless things that they have turned worship into a mockery. They are saying such shameless things that I even feel ashamed to mention them. But since it is a matter of the religion of God, I am compelled to state it. Please watch these videos.
کہ روزے دار آدمی اگر روزے کی حالت میں استنجا کرے گا تو اس کا طریقہ یہ ہے کہ پاخانے کا جو مقام ہے اس کو ٹائٹ کرے اور سانس کو روک کر کے رکھے اور پھر اس کے بعد استنجا کرے، کیونکہ ایسا ہو سکتا ہے کہ اگر استنجا کرنے میں سانس کو ڈھیلا چھوڑا تو استنجا کرنے میں جو پانی ہے وہ پاخانے کے راستے سے پیٹ میں پہنچ جائے۔ اگر پاخانے کے راستے سے استنجا کرتے ہوئے پانی پیٹ کے اندر پہنچ گیا تو روزہ ٹوٹ جائے گا۔ لہٰذا روزے میں استنجا کرتے ہوئے استنجا اس طریقے سے کریں کہ جب استنجا کریں گے تو سانس روک لیں، سانس روک کر کے پھر پانی سے استنجا کریں۔ ایسی صورت میں جو پاخانے کا سوراخ ہے وہ کھلے گا نہیں، ٹائٹ رہے گا اور استنجا کے ذریعے سے پانی پیٹ کے اندر نہیں جائے گا، کیونکہ روزے کے ٹوٹنے کا یہ اصول ہے کہ اگر کوئی چیز منہ کے راستے سے یا پاخانے کے راستے سے اگر پیٹ کے اندر چلے گی تو روزہ ٹوٹ جائے گا۔ اس کا جواب یہ ہے کہ اس طرح کی عبارت فتاوی ہندیہ کے اندر موجود ہے، چنانچہ وہ عبارت یہ ہے وَلِهَذَا قَالُوا لَا يَتَنَفَّسْ فِي الْإِسْتِنْجَاءِ إِذَا كَانَ صَائِمًا، کہ سانس نہ لے استنجا کرتے ہوئے جبکہ وہ روزے کی حالت میں ہو، قضا فی السرخسی۔ اسی طرح کا مسئلہ بیان کیا گیا ہے مبسوط سرخسی کے اندر، یہ عبارت اگرچہ موجود ہے لیکن
عثمان بھائی مرکز رولی لاہور سے، استنجا کرنے کی کوئی احتیاط ہے کیا روزہ دار کے لیے؟
اس کے اندر یہ ہے کہ مبالغہ کرنے سے منع کیا گیا ہے، اور احتیاط یہ ہے کہ روزے کی حالت میں سانس زیادہ نہ لے
جب استنجا کر رہا ہو،
ہاں، اور تھوڑا سمٹ کے بیٹھے،
ٹھیک ہے،
زیادہ پھیل کے نہ بیٹھے کہ بعض اوقات پانی جو ہے وہ اس کے معدے تک پہنچ سکتا ہے جس سے روزہ ٹوٹ جائے گا۔
ٹھیک ہے، تو اس میں یہ کچھ احتیاط ضروری ہے، سانس زیادہ نہ لیا جائے جب استنجا کر رہے ہو۔
وہ باہر شریعت میں لکھا ہوا ایک مسئلہ ہے کہ اگر کوئی روزے کی حالت میں استنجا کرے مبالغے کے ساتھ، یعنی پانی لیتے وقت بیت الخلاء میں پانی لیتے وقت مبالغے کے ساتھ، یعنی بہت دبا کے یا بہت زیادہ وہ پانی کا استعمال کرے اور پانی ایسی جگہ پہنچ جائے جہاں پر عمل دیتے وقت حقنہ رکھا جاتا ہے، وہ عام طور پہ ڈاکٹر آپریشن کرتے ہیں نا تو وہ اینیما دیتے ہیں تو وہ کہاں رکھتے ہیں اس کا سرا، تو اگر وہاں رکھنے تک حقنہ رکھنے کی جگہ تک پانی پہنچ جائے تو روزہ ٹوٹ جاتا ہے۔ یہ مسئلہ
وہ صورتحال بہت زیادہ کم پیش آتی ہیں، ایسا اکثر ہوتا نہیں ہے کہ کوئی لیٹرنگ میں اتنا مبالغہ کرے، یعنی اتنی زور سے سانس اوپر لے کہ پانی معدے میں چلا جائے، صورت بہت کم آتی ہے۔ لیکن پھر بھی اس میں احتیاط یہی ہے کہ جب آپ لیٹرنگ کرنے بیٹھیں تو کم سے کم پیروں کو زیادہ کشادہ کر کے کھول کے نہ بیٹھیں، بلکہ تھوڑا سکڑ کے بیٹھیں۔ خاص طور سے خواتین کے ان کے آگے اور پیچھے کے دونوں مقام بنسبت مرد کے زیادہ بڑے ہوتے ہیں، تو ایسے میں پانی لیتے وقت، استنجا کرتے وقت ان کو زیادہ احتیاط کی حاجت ہے کہ استنجے میں اوپر کو سانس نہ لیں، چھوٹے استنجے میں بھی بڑے استنجے میں بھی۔ اور اس میں کرنا یہ چاہیے جب آپ استنجا کرنے کے لیے بیٹھیں یعنی شروع کریں تو اس وقت سانس اوپر لے کر سانس کو روکیں اور اس کے بعد استنجا کریں، اور اس کے بعد دھیرے دھیرے سانس کو چھوڑ دیں۔ مگر یہ کہ لیٹرنگ دھوتے وقت اگر کوئی بہت زیادہ اوپر کو سانس کھینچے گا تو ایسی صورت میں پانی اندر جانے کا اندیشہ رہتا ہے جس سے روزہ فاسد ہو جائے۔ हो जाएगा।
एक सवाल ये बहुत से लोगों ने पूछा है कि इस्तिंजा करने से रोज़ा फासिद हो जाता है। तो इसका जवाब ये है कि देखें, इस्तिंजा करने से, मुतलकन इस्तिंजा करने से रोज़ा फासिद नहीं होता है। बाज़ लोग किसी बीमारी का शिकार होते हैं या कुछ लोग होते हैं इस्तिंजा के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा मुबालगा करते हैं। तो इस्तिंजा में मुबालगा करने से जो पानी है हुक्ना के मकाम तक, हुक्ना शर्मगाह में पाखाने की जगह में एक जगह है, एक मकाम है अंदर, जहाँ पर अगर जो पिचकारी के ज़रिए से दवाई अगर डालना हो तो कुछ दवाई डालते हैं, तो पिचकारी के ज़रिए से दवा जहाँ तक पहुँचाई जाती है उस मकाम तक अगर इस्तिंजा करते हुए पानी पहुँच जाता है तो फिर क्या हो जाएगा, रोज़ा फासिद हो जाएगा। तो इसलिए मुबालगा नहीं करना चाहिए। आम नॉर्मल जो इस्तिंजा होता है उसमें वो पानी वहाँ तक नहीं पहुँचता जब तक मुबालगा ना किया जाए।
You have watched the videos. When I see the foolishness of these fools, I feel like crying because they do not possess the religion of God. They are merely presenting statements shaped by their own intellect and showing themselves as scholars, and by adding their absurd ideas into the religion of God, they are making a mockery of the religion of God. 8. The final advice. I address those who want to follow the religion of the Creator of the universe and His Messenger. They should reflect upon the Holy Quran and the command of the Messenger. The command of God is in Surah Tahrim, verse 6. O you who have believed, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stones, over which are angels, harsh and severe. They do not disobey Allah in what He commands them, but do what they are commanded. You have heard the command of Allah. Every believer should remember that one day he or she will stand before the Creator of the universe and give an account of their deeds. Therefore, it becomes obligatory to contemplate the word of the Creator. If any mullah says that Maghrib is at night, the Holy Quran is right before you. The choice is yours, whether you adopt the misguidance of these ignorant mullahs or follow the command of God and choose the mercy of the Creator or face the punishment of the Creator. Listen to this concern of mine. If you want to worship, then do so by following the guidance of God and His Messenger. Reflect upon the command of God yourself. Do not die in disobedience to God. Whatever you did in negligence, so be it. You acted according to the mullah's words. You have heard from the Quran and Hadith. Now reflect upon it. What answer will you give for your disobedience when you go to God? Abandon sectarianism and fear the accountability of the day of judgment. Just save yourself and your family from the punishment which you have heard in the statement of the Messenger in Mustadrik Hadith number 1568 that those who break the fast early will be hung upside down. The sides of their mouths will be split open. In the end, I pray to the Creator of the universe to bring those who are distant closer to your guidance and to grant knowledge, guidance and wisdom to those who strive to understand your guidance. Ameen. My every vlog is available in both English and Urdu. Comment as you wish upon this truth with zeal. But while writing words, fear God